When I was young, I devoured book after book. In a sense, it was good. It developed me as a person, not just by what I have learned, but even more through many intellectual fights that I had, and many wrong roads that I trod, and many times that I have been led astray and deceived by intellectuals, until it was clear to me that just because one is gifted in explaining things does not mean that he is right. And for this knowledge I had paid dear price. And also I learned that there is a limit in learning from books. Many books does not necessarily makes one smarter, at least not in the way that matters to me. After years of reading, I found that the more I read, it seemed to me that less I knew. In fact, reading made me weak. I had lots of opinions, but very feeble convictions. I had complex argumentation about everything, but there was no way to convey this to others, at least not in normal kind of everyday conversation. With all readings I was becoming like stranger, even to myself. I felt all this reading and learning was useless and waste of time, and I felt that I was useless too. In the end I realized, admitted to myself, that I've got kind of disease which today I call intellectual fatigue. And it took me years and God's grace to recover from this condition, so I kind of stopped reading books. And today I can easily, from miles away, spot people who suffer from same condition. Now, as older I get, I have far less intellectual appetite. Instead of reading many books, I mostly concentrate on what I already know. And through years I collected my own stash, that is collections of stories, pieces of text, events, sentences, quotes, ideas, words, songs, even films, that became part of my intellectual furniture and through which I understand the world around me. And even today I am very attentive and consider it a great gift when I stumble upon such jewels of wisdom, insight and depth, and have great joy in discovering them. I am not able to pinpoint exactly what makes something genuine jewel, piece of wisdom, and maybe it would make pretty boring video if I try to explain. I guess that people have this inner ability to hear voice of truth itself, wherever it is found, and however this ability of man is tainted or diminished or relative, if their hearts have even little honesty, when this truth speak to them there and live and awaken to its voice. In this stash, that is collection, there is one story from my family history. Maybe this is not the best story to start with, but it is part of my family life, so... My grandfather had 2 sons and a daughter. He was a good man, but good man with issues with alcohol and money. He simply didn't know how to handle money or keep it. This, and especially alcohol, was ruining his life. Nevertheless, he had good heart, that is heart that was not corrupted, neither with envy or with gossip or hatred or love for money or with egoism or something like that. During one of his lucid moments, he said these words: "My daughter will have a good life, but my first son will die alone, as a drunkard under fence, and my second son will be poor and will even lose the very house in which he was born and live." These words, when he said them, had unusual gravity in them, and those who heard remembered and talked about them and wondered. So as a little boy I also heard these words from my parents. And then after 15 or even 20 years these words came to pass, almost exactly as grandfather said. Old man was already dead for 10 years. His daughter was okay, she had more or less normal life and normal family. But his first son, his family fell apart, everyone left him, and he died from alcohol. They found him alone in his own house, lying dead on the floor, after a day or so. And his other son got into debt and lost even his own house. And I wondered how my grandfather knew. Well, one could say that it was because he knew his children, so he could guess what will eventually become of them and what would their lives amount to. And yes, this certainly plays a part. But I think there is more. I think people with good hearts can see things and have a kind of understanding that goes beyond mere human logic. And this knowledge becomes almost prophetic in its nature. I think my grandfather, despite of his shortcomings and even despite of that he wasn't much of a believer, if any, he was not far from the kingdom of God. So he knew stuff, especially in his best moments. Well, now, when I've told it, this seems kind of a cruel story and begs many questions, but I won't get into those in this video, so stay with us.